said, we've read the papers and we know it's old news, but you haven't heard it. So they left them for me.
Oh.
So this is the Harper's Weekly.
Yes.
From May 6, 1863. And
it's not too old.
It's not too old. So there's Lincoln, Tad at home.
Yes.
What a lovely etching.
Yes.
Of our dear president. It's nice that he had a moment to sit with Tad.
Yes.
Oh.
He has very few moments.
The wind is great. Well, what shall we start with?
What do you fancy?
This one is called The Truest Mourners. This paper is just going to blow away in this breeze. I'm going to try to keep it nicely. I am so glad that it stopped being cold because a lot of the papers didn't make it out this far because the gentlemen were using them as padding under their coats.
Yes.
They would take the newspapers and pile them up, I've heard. That's why it's nice to have the little quilts, you know, so that they can wrap that with their belts rather than newspapers. When the spectacle man comes back, I'm going to need a new pair. I can read better without the spectacles. It's very funny. I can see, you know, they try them on you one by one.
Right.
Until you find one of the so many that they have that works the best for you and you get what you get. So, he will come back by. Okay, it says, the truest mourners. While the nation mourns and cities are solemnly tapestried with the signs of sorrow and the funeral train moves across the land. I must have read this incorrectly. It's 1865. This is the funeral train. For the president, I guess.
How sad.
I don't know. The funeral train moves across the land amidst toiling bells and minute guns and slow-pealing dirges, while orators and societies and communities speak of their grief in impassioned eloquence or in somber narrative of a life devoted in every heartbeat to the common welfare. There is one class of mourners, little seen or rudely repulsed, yet whose grief for Abraham Lincoln is profounder and more universal than all. To the unhappy race upon whose equal natural rights with ourselves this nation had so long trampled, upon our dusky brothers for whom God has so long asked of us in vain, while we haughtily responded that we were not our brother's keepers, the death that bereaves us all falls with an overwhelming and appalling force. The name of Abraham Lincoln meant to them freedom, justice, home, family, happiness.
Yes.
In his life, they knew that they lived. In his perfect benignity and just purpose, inflexible as the laws of seed time and harvest, they trusted with all their souls, whoever doubted. Their deliverer, their emancipator, their friend, their father. He was known to them as the impersonation of that liberty for which they had wept and watched, hoping against hope, praying in the very extremity of despair, and waiting with patience so sublime that fat prosperity beguiled us into the meanness of saying that their long endurance of oppression proved that God had created them to be oppressed. The warm imagination of this people cherished Abraham Lincoln as more than mortal. He dies, and in his death slavery doubtless seems to them again possible. It is a sorrow beyond any words, beyond any comfort, except the slow conviction of time that the work he did for them was not his work, that he was but the minister of the nation, and that Abraham Lincoln emancipated them because the American people declared that they should be free.
Yes. Yes.
Yet nonetheless, as the terrible tale is whispered all over the region, where for 4 years a black face has been the sure sign of a true heart, the nameless and inconceivable fear will paralyze that people. Of the operations of government, of the tides and currents of public opinion, of the grateful sympathy of a nation, they can know little, but they knew that Abraham Lincoln was the name of that power and was lifting them from the darkness to light,
Yes.
from death into life, from a hopeless past into a jubilant future. And the shock of our sorrow cannot reveal to us, even in kind, the depth and reality of theirs. So true. When you look at those poor people that have been so enslaved for so long.
Yes.
I never thought about it from that perspective. You know, we mourn and we feel our sorrow, but how much greater their sorrow must be.
Mm-hmm.
And when the story of his life is told, it will be seen that it was one long act of unwearied service to the least of these little ones. He saw clearly from the beginning that the danger to his country lay out of sight, that it lay deep down in the condition of the most friendless of all classes. He saw the national peril lay in the demoralization of the conscience of the country, wrought by the growing inhumanity and injustice. He saw and said that all prosperity was delusive, which was founded on immorality, and that in a part of the country where the prejudice against the colored race was fiercest, where the political disgrace seemed to await the man who persistently pleaded their cause, he never failed to declare, in the face of the most subtle sophistry, of the coarsest and the most injurious ribaldry, of the most passionate denunciation, that slavery was, beneath all other considerations, a moral question, that it was a moral wrong, and that it was not until all the lights of truth and morality were extinguished could it cease to vex the country, and then cease only because it had ruined it. He did not unite with the abolitionists. He did not even plead for political privileges for colored men, but he unswervingly proclaimed the right of all innocent men to personal liberty. And while he expressly disclaimed any intention of interfering with slavery in the states which tolerated it, he did not hesitate to say, with incisive and irresistible logic, that the Union could not endure half slave and half free.
Right.
He hoped that slavery would disappear from the country, but he knew that if it did not, liberty would. And he unfolded the details of the great conspiracy, of which the country showed that at last it was aware by electing him president. He believed, also, that the extinction of slavery would be accomplished by legal and peaceful methods. In that he was mistaken. This simple, homely, sagacious man, who declared that the government could not endure half slave and half free, was called to be the minister of securing its permanence by making it wholly free, and the statesman whom slavery had never deceived, who had exposed its immorality, as the clear, calm eye of the old philosopher exposed the serpent in the woman's form, died by a stealthy blow from a desperate, dying hand. His death justifies every word of his life. The shot of the assassin completed with the absolute expiration of the lonesome system of that which repels the loathsome system that the rebels at Sumter 4 years had begun. We are all grateful to the good man whom we are burying, but if we had all been Carolina slaves, would that speechless woe, what eternal gratitude would ours be? As our time passes, they will learn that their cause is also ours. They will see that slavery, not Lincoln, is dead. For the work in which he was but the minister of the people will fulfill to the utmost with a sacred devotion. How very lovely.
Quite a lovely tribute.
Yes. And there's a funeral ode to Lincoln in here. Oh, because I had taken the first page off, I got all the ads. But most of those are from New York, and we're a little far to use those sutlers for what we need. Let's see what's in the next section here. I wish I had the new Godey's Ladies books. Oh, there's some more plates.
Beautiful.
So, there's Mr. Lincoln on his deathbed.
Yes.
And how, oh look, they had time for all the cabinet, it says, to gather round before he died. Because I heard that he did not die instantly. And they labeled all their Secretary Stanton.
Wonderful.
And they're showing the funeral march. Wow, it's just almost all pictures in this issue.
Isn't it beautiful?
Oh, here's some more words. I'll take this and I'll give you that. And then you can show Melissa the pictures if the wind doesn't take it away. We have a very blessed day today. Oh dear, how are we doing? I guess they won't fly. Oh, this is incredibly long, ladies. Oh, and another plate.
Another plate?
Another plate. Oh, so this is him laying in state at the White House.
Yes.
I'm sorry that this is all blowing away.
No?
Here, Megan,
Here's the march.
I'll show you the big plate. This is what the White House looked like when they laid Lincoln out. I heard they took him on a train across the country, and they made stops so that people could honor him along the way.